We have 4 out of 7 members here for a quorum. It's good to see you all. Good to see you again, Carol. I know you weren't here last month, well, the month before. October. Well, neither were we. We had a special call meeting. Yeah, anyway. All right, so the first item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. And we do have one individual who has signed up to speak, and that is Council Member Evans. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody being here today. I am here to speak in support of item number 7, which is establishing a MAC commission. This is the prime sponsor is Councilmember Sherry Weiner. She could not be here today, so I'm here in her absence. One of the things that struck me as I was reviewing this legislation, because I had not worked on it directly, is that there are 25 district council members in support of Councilmember Weiner's bill, and that's a pretty sizable amount considering our body size. And I think that one of the things that speaks to is the challenges that we see at the district level related to animal care and control, not in particular about people, operations, any of those kinds of things, but just the fact that as our county has grown, our residents have grown, we have way more animals than we used to, and that has created issues where residents are being turned away for various reasons when we hit capacity at the shelter. And so we've been, advocating related to capital spending with the mayor's office on, the potential of getting a larger shelter at some point. But this is Councilmember Weiner's interest in really galvanizing some interest specific to MAC and how to make sure that we have kind of a bottoms-up approach around advocating for the needs of animal care and control. So to give you some examples, other than residents being turned away, we're often leveraged as district council members to shepherd people through the process of getting spay and neutering done. I know several members who will invest their own campaign resources to make sure animals get spayed and neutered. We're also trapping animals, cats in particular. I've done several of that myself. We also have had a member that recently trapped a domesticated rabbit that was abandoned. So I mentioned this in my last chair remarks as Chair of Public Health and Safety. That I said that we need to invest some more energy and effort around this issue. And so I believe that establishing an Animal Care and Control Commission would help do that because there'd be representation from the community, representation from the health department, the council, to be able to have some more concentrated conversations about how to make improvements and advocate around the budget. And so I appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. Point of privilege. Well, Councilmember Evans, are you going to be here later on in the meeting? Yes. Okay, so we can, if we have questions of you, we can bring it up then. Okay, great, thank you. And we do not have any other individuals that have signed up. That takes us to our agenda item number 2, which is Community Voices, which is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on any issue that's not on the agenda. And we did not have anyone to sign up for Community Voices, so we're moving on to number 3, which is declarations of conflicts, recusals, or communiques on the agenda from Board of Health members. I do not have any declarations, and I will make space for my colleagues if you all have any. None? Okay, great, thank you. So next, that will take us to the September 11 meeting minutes. And if you have not had a chance to review, please take a moment, but when ready, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Motion to approve made by Dr. Griffin, seconded by Dr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have deliberation of the October 2nd special called meeting minutes. When ready, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Dr. Griffin, seconded by Ms. Powell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, none opposed, motion carries. That takes us to employee and team recognition. And Dr. Ariola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Franklin. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Health. It is my pleasure to recognize a couple of our employees as employees of the month. The first one is, Larry Tonley. I'll tell you since I've been here, impressive man. And Larry is out, as I'm reading from the notes that someone used to nominate him. Demonstrates unwavering commitment to the mission and values of MPHD by spending every day out on the streets of Nashville, often in the harshest and toughest neighborhoods, meeting people where they are and building trust with those who are often the hardest to reach. He was recognized recently by the State Council for his achievements, helping and shaping the community. It brings the same spirit and ambition to help our community to work every day, and reminds us this is why we're here. And you can see the number of people here that are here to support Larry, and I join them. This guy is always in very, very high spirit. You cannot but love this guy. You cannot but appreciate what he does. It's my pleasure to recognize Larry Tonley as Employee of the Month. Thank you, Larry. We appreciate all that you do.
Wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold up.
All right, go ahead.
So I know who I'm calling on the phone when it comes to advocacy. Okay? Turnout. And because you have overwhelming support, I think it's only appropriate that you say a few words.
Absolutely. First, I would like to thank Dr. Ann for giving me an opportunity to work here and to work in my purpose. And I would like to thank the Behavior Health and Wellness team for first recommending me for this award, and also recognizing what I do in the community. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Yeah. And thank Dr. Ariola also for the great words he read off the paper. The great words you said as it relates to me. Appreciate you. Yes.
Well, I know that when we talk when we do the work of public health, we often look to lived experience, particularly in our team members in the department. And I think that the words that were shared about the work that you do, and also what I've witnessed you doing in the community, I'm appreciative to have people like you who bring your lived experience to the work of public health, so we can champion better outcomes for all. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you to the behavioral health team for showing up today.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Ariola, thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to many more turnouts like this. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Dr. Ann, I see you back there. Yes, ma'am. All right. So I want to make space for my colleagues to say anything.
No, impressive. I heard about you before at the Behavioral Health Summit.
Okay, thank you.
So I was impressed then. So I'm impressed with all the people who came to support you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've heard your name for years. I've never met you. But this is what we want to see. This is really beautiful and really motivating for everybody, I think. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
The turnout of support says everything.
Absolutely.
Said about even your words.
Thank you.
Dr. Ann wants to say something.
I just want to add something to that. Larry just returned from St. Louis, where he was asked by the BRIC Community Safety Program in St. Louis to show up as a rep from Nashville to speak on behalf of his lived experience and the work that we're doing here in Nashville. So we just want to also add that to the things that he's done that we're really proud of.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Well done. He's like, it's time to go home.
Although not here, I do want to also recognize our September Team of the Month, which is our week vendor management team. Right? They're not here today, but I do want to recognize them. Our October Employee of the Month is Ben Jacobs.
Where's Ben?
Ben also couldn't make it here. I was talking to Ben earlier, and Ben, I think, started maybe a couple of years before I did. And I joke with him earlier that it doesn't look any different than when I saw him in 2002. But he's been around, and just to read again the notes from his nomination, say anytime our team has any technology challenges or IT difficulties, I am hoping Ben Jacob gets sent to us to help us. Don't get me wrong, the whole IT team is amazing, helpful and efficient, and we are grateful, very grateful to have them. Ben's positivity and eagerness to help is palpable. I especially appreciate how he doesn't make anyone feel dumb for not being tech savvy. Yeah, he solves the issues and goes out of his way to accommodate requests and find the equipment we need. I've worked with him many times, and it's always a great experience, in person or remotely, always excellent service. So we do want to recognize Ben Jacob as the Employee of the Month for October.
Thank you. And Jim, would you please tell him congratulations and convey our appreciation to him. So, all right, thank you. All right, is that, next we have well, let me just say this. I think for me, it's always about team members, and just the energy in the room just a few minutes ago, that was everything. And that we can say that about behavioral health, but we can say that about, and we have said it about other bureaus and other programs. And so this is just a microcosm of the work of the whole entire health department. So that warmed my heart. Next, we have the deliberation on the MAC bill. So we are going to start with Dr. Ariola first. Dr. Ariola, would you please provide historical background on so we can understand why we're considering this bill at this particular time?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Franklin, and again, good afternoon to members of the Board of Health. Metro Animal Care and Control, even before I left in 2020, was one of the programs that I'd spent a lot of time on. When I got here in February, that's one of the first things that I was made aware of was conversations with Councilmember Sherry Winner. I'll tell you, Councilmember Sherry Winner is has been unfailingly supportive of public health. So ever since I've been here, and I had conversations with her about this, and you will recollect that one of the first moves that I made here was looking at the salaries of our employees at MAC, and you graciously approved the increases that we had even before the increases that Metro provided. And that's because historically, hiring into certain positions there has been a challenge. Cost of living in Nashville has gone up. While I absolutely disagree with what I think are some of the unfortunate comments that were made at a couple of weeks ago, I think there are common understanding of the fact that in Nashville has grown very well, and it's still growing. We have a responsibility to make sure that we have an animal control facility that can handle the needs of the county. Having said that, I do want to make it clear that it's going to take more than the animal control facility to handle animal welfare and care in the county. I also remember several years ago in some of the assessment that we did that the average pets per household in Nashville is slightly above average. So there's a lot of pets here. The facility that we're currently in, I believe, was built in 2000, yeah. And so it's a small facility. And we have routinely, to be clear, worked with our partners, Humane Society, Pet. So we work with the several agencies on adoption and different things. And several years ago, our kill rate at the shelter was very, very high. We worked to reduce that, now hovering around 9, 10, 11%, because we only really put animal down for maybe medical reasons or behavioral reasons per court order. And so lots of improvement has been made in the facility. I would say that there's no question that there's a need for new facilities, and we have been working on that. Recently, we had hired a consultant to take a look at what a new facility looks like. Our staff's done a lot of work putting together basic information of what we think it will be, and we worked with the consultant to kind of finalize that. So we're working with General Services now, looking at potential locations where we can find a site to build animal control facility in, and we're doing that in strong collaboration with the mayor's office. So really pretty appreciative that Councilmember Erin Evans mentioned the conversation and the willingness of the council to work with us. I'll tell you that, once we have potential sites to look at, we'll keep everyone informed. We've also had conversations with other potential partners in the county. So the fact that we need a new facility, I think we all agree on that. The fact that, we need more resources, obviously with the new facility comes additional resources. If you have animal control officer going out on the street, there are requirements for vehicles and other resources to do that. So we, in terms of agreeing on the needs of the department, we know. Several years ago, I personally led an assessment in terms of the volume of calls that were going to the department. It's a lot of calls that are going, tough to have enough resources to even take those calls. So anyway, my point along that line is we agree on the needs for even better animal care resources in the county. I personally think that our steps should be, though, to figure out what the appropriate steps are to develop the right strategies for dealing with that. We do have our facilities since I've been here. Outside of the increase in salaries, you note that I also asked you to look at the salary of the vet, and for a long time that was a position that was difficult to fill. We have filled one of those and working to fill the other one. Every time that we have issues with facilities, we have made that a priority. I've met with staff several times to make sure that, things happen with mechanical system, that we're always on there. It's a priority for us, and we've worked on that again. That's why I want to emphasize that some of the comments made in terms of how we approach care of animal facilities are unfortunate. Now, I do agree with what Councilmember Evans said. There are calls, there are requests, and when people can't get to the facility, they call elected officials. And so, again, that's a capacity issue. I also would just make it very clear that looking at MAC as the only solution to animal welfare needs is probably not going to be the right path forward. Do we need bigger facilities? Yes. Do we need more resources? Yes. But as a community, I think the conversation around the facility, conversation around the resources is what we need to have. Tough for me to understand how the Board of Health, how the Friends of MAC, how those responsibilities are going to be different from the ones that are proposed via the bill. Now, if the new commission is intended to help us define the problems and map out strategies and solutions to the problem in terms of facility, resources needed, strategy and structure to ensure that we are collaborating even better with our partners. I think that's a good use of time. Other than that, really tough to delineate the responsibility from that of Friends of Mark, from that of the department, and from that of the Board of Health. And that's my initial comment. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I just wanted to sort of get us from the background to why we are considering this today. And I don't remember hearing about this year. Have you? Okay. Anything regarding this potential bill?
No.
Do you remember hearing about it at all this calendar year? Okay. So and I'm going to make sure that we call into the conversation. I know John Finke has information, Cabera has information, Kristen has information, Dr. Ariola. So I just want everyone to sort of be on deck for speaking. But a few weeks ago, I received a call from Cabera asking if I could, letting me know that this bill was on second reading. It was about an hour before the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting started, and I was able to get down to the council and at least asked if they would defer the bill until we got to our meeting so the Board of Health can consider the information in front of us. After some wrangling and lots of conversations, we were able to get through the deferral as an outcome of the Rules Committee. I had an opportunity to talk with Councilmember Weiner at that time, and then we set up a time to talk at length to go through the bill so I can sort of hear from her perspective the history of her why and go through some of the language. So we spent time going over the bill. I asked a lot of questions. I took notes. I made recommendations on language changes, which she said she would adopt, but they're not reflected in what we see in front of us, is what she emailed out 2 days ago. And so now is the time for us to talk more in detail about the bill, particularly the duties that Dr. Ariola had mentioned, because it does seem like the commission, the work that is being proposed by the commission is also the responsibility of the Board of Health. And I just want to make sure that we have a chance to read it, pressure test, ask questions, and then we have the other individuals that are also principals to be able to engage in this conversation, including the Councilmember Evans. Did I leave anything out, Dr. Ariola?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive. I do want to add that, one of the, when I became aware of the bill, I did have a meeting, set up a meeting with Councilmember Weiner to talk through this. And then
What month was this? This was a while ago.
It's a while ago.
Okay.
For the first reading.
Okay.
For the first attempt at the bill, and I did make sure that I spoke with the mayor's office for them to be aware. And somehow, if we missed that, I thought I'd mentioned that to the board, but if I didn't, then apologies for that. And then through that consultation, the original filing was pulled. But she did make it clear that this was coming. So the second filing, and I think Cabera and Christian can go through the timeline for you as to why that was missed. The communication came to Animal Control, I think, the day that it was supposed to be filed or even the day after, but I'll let them go through that. So we didn't see that ahead of time, and even if we were at the council, my understanding typically would be at one of the committees, but my understanding that the hearing was in the council chamber. So even there, we could have been in the building and still miss that hearing. But I'll let Cabera and Christian kind of get into those details. However, when we see bills like that, we want to make sure that we inform you as quickly as we can, as well as the mayor's office.
Okay. And Cabera, I know you're in the back. Did you want to add anything to the process, or even how we're thinking about the process moving forward internally to make sure that we don't miss out on? But you've got to come up here because your voice is soft. Well, it doesn't have to be, but.
In order to improve this process going forward, one of the first things that we did, like, coming back out of this, is to reach out to IT, Metro ITS, and set up an inbox specifically for legislative affairs. It's metro.legislative.affairs@nashville.gov. I mentioned that with Kristen as well as Dr. Ariola, and we're going to continue the conversation on setting up the formal protocols for how we integrate that into the process so that we're kept in the loop, especially like Kristen and myself, whoever attends the council meetings, because it's great that we have a lot of dialogue and conversation, and it's great to have council members who have a direct line to crucial services that they really support. But at the end of the day, a lot of times the people that they're communicating with are not actually the ones showing up to the council, and especially too when it comes to something specifically like animal control, it's not a very sitting at my desk in front of a computer type of job. So it would be like hard. The best people to communicate with, of course, keep them in the loop, but that needs to be sort of shunted over to the legislative folks that are actually showing up to the council.
Yeah, so thank you. So that's the process issue that we are solving for. But that's why we didn't know about it, is because of the communication wasn't as tight. But we're here now to consider this bill. So when I talked to Councilmember Weiner, she told me that late last year, she was asked to come into MAC and sit down and have a conversation with leadership. And from that conversation, asking a lot of questions, she memorialized that conversation in the form of a report that she then shared with several individuals, not the board, and it was before Dr. Ariola arrived, technically, or was it right after you arrived? It might have been like day 1 or day 2.
I saw the report, but I think the report was here before.
Yeah. And so like Tom Sharp, like a whole bunch of folks, mayor's office got it, but we didn't see it, okay? So when I talked to Councilmember Weiner, I said, we have no idea what you're talking about, the board. Will you please defer? We got through it, and so we're here today. And in that report, it sort of talked about some of the things that Dr. Ariola mentioned, that the needs that MAC has that have been longstanding. And that's why we're here today. But before we jump in, Dr. Ariola, my question to you, you talked a lot about the responses to the problems that MAC has, the challenges, the ongoing challenges. What is needed in order to be proactive to a point where we don't have to be so responsive to problems? What is needed, and who provides the solution?
So the I think in terms of the need for a new facility, there's no question about it, and I think we're making progress towards that.
Where's the funding come from?
Right, so we're working with the mayor's office. I think so we do have some money for planning, just like we do for the Woodbine replacement, and the mayor's office, they know where we are, and I think as soon as we identify a facility, they'll make the right move. I will also say that there are conversations going on with some community members who are interested in being part of the process and potentially contributing to that. So I think the biggest move right now, the biggest move we made was defining what we need in a new facility. That took a lot of work from staff and consultant. That's a big step. So I think we shared that with you. We have, okay. So we have that. That's helping decide the acreage and the kind of facility that's needed. So that's a huge step. Now the next step again is working with general services, finding a location, and then having funds to purchase that. Yeah, that's that. But once you have a new facility, then the big step is to make sure we have adequate resources to do that. There's been so many efforts over the years to improve processes and to do things, but it's a small facility, and I'll go back to just talking about the cost by itself. The animal care and control facility receives incredible number of calls, incredible. And it's not just call that you spend 1 or 2 minutes working on. Some of those you have to spend a lot of time doing it. And the total number of FTE, and John Finke, you should come up here. So So you can get into the total number of FTE actually has improved recently. When I left in 2020, I think it was about 37. Now it's about 50 something, but still needs a lot. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to be on the. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm sure he's gonna, we're gonna ask him some questions.
Okay, so those are facts, and the number of the population of the county has grown exponentially. The number of animals in the county is huge, and if we're going to continue to try to do what is the right thing to do, which is to push ourselves towards no kill, putting down only the animals that absolutely has to. It takes a lot of resources to do that, to do outreach, to do spay neuter, to do adoption. And so we have to get into resources. And in my conversation with Councilmember Evans, I think it's good to see the interest from Councilmember Winner, Councilmember Evans, and the council, similarly, and the mayor's office, similarly wanting to make sure the animal control issues are addressed. That's why I said that we are in agreement as to what the issues are. And I think the next step for me is to define those issues and have strategies on how to address them, and have goals, short-term goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, those kind of things, and put prices on those, what's going to take. And so I'll let John kind of get into some of the details. I know that resources are issues. FTEs obviously is needed. We did address some of the salary issues, and my understanding is that we're getting better qualified candidates applying for those positions. But, there's only so much you can do with the few people that you have. So those are, go ahead, John.
So on the building itself, we did work with animal labs to design our needs. We gave those needs to General Services, and they have sent us a few properties to look at. 3 of them are out on the other side of the airport near the lake. One is in North Nashville. 2 of them I don't think are potential sites. The elevation changes are too drastic for us to be on those properties. They're river valleys, things like that. But we're looking at those properties, trying to see what's viable and what's not. I'm going back out to 2 of the properties with General Services sometime in the near future to look at the more promising ones. From a equipment standpoint, we're making the most of every penny we have. We had an outbreak of Panluke in the kennel and had to get rid of all of our cat kennels. Replacing those was going to be $40,000, along with an additional $20,000 for installation. We're installing them ourselves. We told them forget the $20,000 because that wasn't a good use of our resources. We'll put them together ourselves, and we'll do it quick, and it won't be a big deal. We're doing everything we can to maximize what we have. But when we get to a new building, even if we take all of our equipment with us, it won't be enough to house the new building. There won't be enough medical equipment, enough med cages. Mac just got their first X-ray machine this year, after 25 years at this facility. So there's a lot of growing we need to do, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
And I do want to say also, so to be clear again, especially with some of the unfortunate comments that were made, we prioritize MAC. I jump on calls about MAC on weekends and night. We pull our facilities there to do things as quickly as we can. And so just wanted to make sure that that's understood, that for a long time, we do all that we can to support. But the need for the county is bigger than the resources that we're currently putting in. So.
And the comments that Dr. Ariola was referring to were the comments from the floor of the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting about MAC and MAC's team members not being supported by the health department or by the board, which I defended and I took issue with, and I conveyed that there has been support and care continuous since I've been on the board, since 2019. And that this ongoing struggle of lack of funding has been the precipitous of why we are always playing whack-a-mole, right? Not only with MAC, but in public health in general. So in front of you, we have the bill. What I would like to draw your attention to is this page, the duties, because that really gets to the crux of what the commission is intended to do. And I have my concerns. I've offered language changes, but I want to make space before I share my thoughts. I want to make space for you all to ask questions. Just respond, just react to what you see in front of you.
I think just the general question I have is, if nothing else changes with funding or facilities, how does this commission improve whatever issues have been brought up? I think taking out all of those other factors, you really just have to look at what does it change now.
And I think that's the same question that I have, because we work with so many partners on adoption and other stuff. We have Friends of MAC, and they've raised money. I was trying to remember Pet Community Center and those things. So there's no question that we need to do more adoptions, more spay, neuter, and those things. But unless you have a bigger facility, unless you have additional resources, it's hard to understand how these commissions work is going to be different from what Friends of MAC is doing or the responsibility of the Board of Health. However, as I said before, the needs that you will see in the report from Councilmember Sherwina are the same thing that I've highlighted. We have those needs. Now, if the Commission's responsibility is to try to map out a path to bridging those gaps and meeting those needs and putting dollar amounts of what's needed to increase pay neuter on, what's needed to build a new facility on, what's needed to add more FTEs, what's needed to do more pay neuter, what's needed to enhance technology of how we take calls and other stuff. I think that's a good use. But even if you advocate for resources now in a facility that's grossly inadequate for the size of the county and the need of the county, hard to imagine how that's different from what we are already doing here.
Yeah, I had the same question about the Friends of MAC. What would be different about this commission than the Friends of MAC, and how would they interact?
I don't. Go ahead. Yeah.
This might be an opportunity for me to go through my notes from our conversation with Councilmember Weiner. Number one, it says promote the health, safety, and welfare for animals and pets in the jurisdiction of Metro government. I asked, what does this mean? How would the commission do it? She said community engagement with stakeholders, helping the MAC team members, helping them regarding the initiatives that they want to have around the county. So if they have an initiative in, I don't know, Bellevue, what can the commission do to sort of help with volunteer efforts? Helping with ideas and contacts in general to support MAC, similar to what Friends of MAC already does. And this is sort of like an overarching umbrella of what the commission is intended to do, and help demonstrate the value of MAC in their greater community. That came from the notes in our conversation. Number two, it states, at the request of and in consultation with the Director of Animal Care and Control Services Division, provide insight relative to its operations and programming while advocating for its mission. I asked why would the commission interface with just the Director of MAC without sort of skipping over the Board of Health and skipping over the Director of Health. So my suggestion which at that time, Councilmember Weiner adopted, was instead say at the request of and in consultation with the Director of Health or his designee carry out that function. But that was just suggested language. We're still trying to figure out what the difference is. I don't think we got across the finish line. She mentioned advocacy for the shelter. The conversations go back well before Dr. Ariola came back. She said it's not about just today. She's thinking about the long-term sustainable support of MAC that transcends the health department leadership. So again, all of us are thinking long-term, and it's in response to the report that she created based on the conversation she's had. But this is really about advocating for MAC. I asked if this is about providing oversight to MAC. She said no. But that is what she said. It really is about the advocacy. Number 3, support Metro Animal Care and Control's educational animal welfare initiatives and programming. Essentially, that means to be a thought partner, supporting community events, advocacy, and she wasn't sure about anything specific beyond that. When I asked how that differs from what the Board of Health was doing, she said that would be a conversation we would need to sort of have with Metro Legal about what the support looks like from the commission. Number 4, promote community outreach, including fostering relationships with nonprofit partners. I think that's self-explanatory. Number 5, at the request of and in consultation with the Director of Metro Animal Care and Control, promulgate and maintain rules and bylaws for the commission. I was concerned about this language, again, because she's proposing to bypass the board and the director, and again, not really able to understand the delineation between roles and responsibilities. And then prepare and submit annual report to the mayor and Metro Council no later than June 30th of each year, summarizing activities, achievements. I said summarizing activities and achievements. No, she said that. And areas of consideration for Metro Animal Care and Control. Again, that removes the Board of Health's responsibility. And I personally have concerns with that language because if the commission comes up with a report that's based on their perspective, but maybe not in line with how MAC is being run day to day under the direction of the director, what it does is it pits two bodies against each other. And it just has it's a slippery slope for it to get kind of messy, right? That was my personal concern, which I didn't hear a good response to that would keep me from asking more questions. I'll stop there. But again, the language, if this does go forward, I would want the commission to interface with the director. Okay. I also would want to make sure that we understand the role of the board. And what I don't want, and I believe that this is what Councilmember Weiner conveyed in our conversation. She said this wasn't an oversight body for MAC, but it feels like it is to me. But she's told me that that was not the intent. She's thinking about long-term sustainability and an opportunity for folks to come in, additional individuals to come in and to support.
Two more thoughts or questions. With the wording on number 2, it states that they'll provide insight. Who are they providing insight to? And also just another general question, does the formation of this commission detract from the need for funding or give some false sense of a lack of need or deprioritization of the funding that's needed, a new facility that's needed.
I suspect those are probably questions that we can put together and send to the council member for answers. Just really, I think, just really tough to see how there won't be conflict with the stated role of the Board of Health around what you're saying, whether it's budget request and those things, and obviously us working with the staff there to understand operational needs, and tough to have a parallel organization that's doing something different outside of what we're doing. So.
I want to ask Councilwoman Evans, is this a sort of format that's, I know that for parks, there's a friends group for greenways, and then there's a parks commission. Is this like common in our metro government, this type of thing, and can you talk about how it works? Or no?
And you're talking about where we have a commission and then we also have nonprofit organizations that are in support. I think you definitely see it a lot on the park side. I think also arts has a commission, and then there are also, nonprofit arts advocacy organizations that interface with them. Trying to think if there are any other ones. I think that I guess as I was making notes and kind of processing your conversation, one of the things that stood out, I guess, related to like Friends of MAC in relation to, I think, Councilmember Wiener's interest in this commission idea is that on the council side, it feels like Friends of MAC is very focused on specific animal welfare of animals that are within the shelter environment. So, for instance, like raising money for food or raising money for foster programs, those kinds of things, and not that somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but that it doesn't kind of go outside to like the bigger picture issues like I was attempting to describe during my public comment. And so I think that, to your point, there are examples of kind of this structure in other places, but maybe not as common throughout all of Metro.
And when you look at, I think it's page 3 of 4, under the entire bill, section 2, under analysis, there's language that says this commission would serve as an advisory entity and as a liaison between MAC, the Board of Health, and the community, with the intent to enhance public engagement and strengthen departmental operations. The commission would consist of 7 voting members. 2 members would be representatives of a local nonprofit dedicated to animal welfare and appointed by the mayor. 1 member would represent a local nonprofit organization that operates an animal shelter appointed by the mayor. 1 member would be a veterinarian. 1 member would be a representative of a local nonprofit dedicated to animal welfare. 2 members at large would be elected by Metro Council. Members appointed by the mayor would be confirmed by council. Commission members shall serve staggered 4-year terms. So we're talking about, this is going to be a permanent, the intent is for it to be a permanent commission over MAC. I have lots of questions, but that's what the language says.
So forgive this question, Councilmember Evans. What's the difference between a commission and a board, I guess?
Maybe Mr. Smith could give us some more concrete definition.
It depends on which is created. Okay. I mean, they can function with identical powers and authorities, but sometimes they name them commissions, sometimes they name them boards. Okay. There may be, on the commission side, there can be use for, as this body in part seems to be able to make some recommendations and so forth, as opposed to making decisions. But I can also identify a few commissions in Metro that have both recommending and decision-making authority.
Are there entities that have a Friends commission and a board? Because the ones you've mentioned, I think, have just maybe commissions and Friends, or boards and Friends.
Well, Friends are separate from Metro. They're nonprofit establishments. They may have a Metro department in their name, but they have their own separate boards. They have their own nonprofit status under IRS code provisions. And they're indirectly linked to Metro, but they aren't controlled. But they're designed to support, whether it be Library Foundation or Friends of Parks. You know, those foundations and Friends of organizations are nonprofits separate from Metro, but designed to be, to publicize the mission, to fundraise, and so forth.
I guess my question though is, like you mentioned parks, is there forgive me, I don't know, there's a Parks Commission, but there's not a board and a Friends.
Is there a
right?
board and
Yeah.
is there an agency which has a board and commission that's responsible for the same body
Yes.
of work?
Thank you. That's my question.
Not both a board and commission for the same entity, but Parks is a board, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I don't represent or handle their client advice. I at one time did for the library board, and then there's that separate organization called the Library Foundation that helps to support it. Parks has a separate foundation. There are others, but no, within Metro, there aren't a board and a commission with decision-making authority.
I think that's my concern, is that to your point, I think it sounds like the duties would be similar. I do see, two other points. I do see the value in maybe having a veterinarian on the board, or somebody that would interface and have more knowledge about animal welfare for us. Like,
We've had a vet on this board before.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
an option. We've had vets yet, but that option's still remains.
Then I think my greater concern though is that the way it started. So I'm concerned that staff didn't feel that, I want to make sure that the communication channels are more between staff and us. So I guess.
Well, they have been.
They have, that was my feeling. So
Yeah,
I guess I was
mean,
surprised
So
by
when we
this.
did the director search, we centered behavioral health, particularly community violence and opioid use. We also centered MAC. And so we have been responsive, largely because at that time it was Ms. Henderson was engaging in sharing, and Mr. Finke about what the needs were. So, yeah, I think for my question, and I have a question, Council Member Evans. I think, and I'm going to say what my concern is, my question of wonder, and I'll let you respond in a way that makes sense for you.
Okay.
I wonder if there is a desire long down the road for MAC to be an independent agency.
I don't know from Councilmember Wiener's perspective. I will say, like, from my perspective, I think there's been a lot of learnings about the pitfalls of creating independent departments and what that looks like, because there's not necessarily kind of a broader connection to Metro, like I'll call it big finance and big HR and that kind of thing. And I think you've seen that in some of the commissions. And so I would say, like, I wouldn't be in support of that activity, primarily because the existing concerns are not resolved from other existing commissions where there has not been probably enough oversight in some of their operations. So I don't know if that would be Councilmember Wiener's vision or goal, but I think that would be a struggle for this council body to probably get our minds wrapped around.
So right now, we shouldn't think that that's where the intention is.
I don't believe that that's where the intention is. That's my perspective.
I understand.
I think truly the perspective is, like, you all as public health professionals, like, you're rightly, the priority is people health, because we've got really significant issues that you all are working through with Dr. Areola. And so it's kind of like when we have a to-do list everything on my to-do list is really important, but the thing that's at the bottom, I may sometimes let slip. And I will say, like with my council service, it feels like that has happened on the council side related to animal control, because the issues that I was describing earlier about like trapping animals or residents being turned away, those kinds of things, that's been an ongoing thing since my first term. But I don't think we've had probably council members that have been as engaged about MAC. And then we've just also let it kind of continue to slide and not brought it forward as a big issue.
Dr. Ariel?
And thank you, Council Member Evans. I do again want to say a couple of things with Council Member Sherry Weiner. She hasn't suggested that she's planning to move animal control. I want to be very clear that she's been very supportive of what we do over the years, and I've had conversations with her. I have no doubt that her intention is to help with what we're trying to do with animal control. And over the years, before I got here, I think John Finke, Tom Sharp had worked with her when she was talking about this bill. They've met with her, obviously, legislatively. She's got her own thoughts about what she wants to see through, and sometimes we provide our input, but that's really all that we can do. We can't make her stop or make her proceed. But I do want to make it clear that I have no doubt that the intention is to help. And to what Councilmember Evans just said, those issues, I'm going to reiterate that it's a question of capacity. And those, I mean, every time, especially when it comes, my thinking has always been, if we have enough resources and we do our jobs well, people shouldn't have to call their council members or the mayor's office for us to respond. But, you just have to know the sheer number. I don't remember the numbers, but as far back as 12, 15 years ago, we get sometimes several hundred calls a day. It is nearly impossible to keep up with the calls. And people are very passionate about animal control issues where, they're not on the phone for 1 or 2 minutes. They're on the phone for a long time. We have always given priority to animal control. When I was here as deputy director, I actually had animal control reporting directly to me. That's how important we had. When Nancy Whitmore was over general services for a while, she was overseeing a group that was trying to do the same thing about the animal welfare. And I quote her, she said, "You are the only one that I can hand animal control over to." I oversaw that. It has always been a priority. When I was here, we respond to animal control issues. John, as the director of environmental, spends more time on animal control issues than anything else. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Again, we agree on the issues. I think it's the approach and the conflict in terms of responsibility with the Board of Health that I have concern with. And I think the other thing which one of the questions we need to ask, for example, is who works for this commission? Is it expected for us to take away from resources to work on that commission? Who keeps the records? Who handles public notices? Who schedules meetings? Those are things that we do for the Board of Health, and those additional responsibilities that we have to take on. So those are some of the things that we have to think through.
And that was not discussed.
Yeah.
And you're right, we're standing up another body that
Yeah.
has to be managed by
Right.
an FTE,
Yeah.
partial FTE,
Right.
in a department that's already stretched thin.
Yeah.
Right. That was not discussed by Council Member Weiner. I know that she's looking to Metro Council to sort of help solve for tactically what the stand-up looks like, but I don't know. Derek, do you know, has anyone had conversations with you about this commission?
No, this stood up outside of Metro Legal. I just checked. Metro Legal may need to review this later, but it hasn't been asked to yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can get an estimate of how much what kind of burden this would put on the department. Because I think that needs to be considered if they're going to vote on this. And that, is this an unfunded mandate that the department, like you say, stands up another board and supports another board?
My question to my colleagues, we heard Council Member Evans at the top of the meeting say that I believe there were 25 council members in support of this bill. And I did, when I was down there, I did hear support in general for this bill. I think that the sentiment is that people want to help MAC. I'm concerned about the overlap of the scope of duties. I'm wondering if this body would like to recommend language that would support the director and the bureau director and managing MAC, but not take away from our responsibilities or the department's responsibilities. And Dr. Ariola, you lifted up language before about like a body to sort of help prioritize, help just be thought partners and so forth and so on. So yeah, we would look to you for specific language about what would be helpful for you, but I think we can probably offer some suggestions for what we have in front of us as well.
Yeah, we're happy to draft something that we'll share with you for consideration. Okay. Is that what you're asking us to do?
Yes,
Okay.
and we need to turn this around quickly
Okay.
because I know Councilmember Weiner is trying to meet deadlines to get this moved forward. And just for the sake of conversation, again, I would want the commission to communicate directly with the Director of Health as opposed to skipping over the board, the Director of Health, and the Bureau Director. They were skipping over all of those individuals. So communicate directly with the Director of Health. We do need to think strategically about what the relationship between the commission and the Board of Health is. I don't have that answer right now. And then the language in number 6, which essentially, in my mind, pits the Board of Health and Commission against each other, theoretically, has the potential to. I would like to maybe just limit the report to the activities, the volunteer activities that the commission will do or has done. And that's based on my understanding from Councilmember Weiner about what the intent of the commission is. The intent and the words don't match up. This feels like oversight. So that's my concern.
We'll try and put something together between tomorrow and Saturday and get it to you by email.
Can we get a vote? I make a motion to pull together a response to the duties outlined in this commission that would be amenable to the Board of Health and the Director of the department. Yeah.
Could we consider, instead of moving forward, and I don't know what the process is, so y'all forgive me, but instead of moving forward with this, would the council consider us adding like a veterinarian to this board? And interfacing,
We can do that, but remember, we have specific categories that we have to have. Like the most recent person, we had to have a mental health professional. And when we talk to the mayor's office, because I'm the most senior person on the board, so whenever there is a vacancy that comes up, we try to make sure that we get the right fit with the availability, and then the mayor actually has autonomy on who the mayor decides. And so it's always a dance that we do, but we can do that. But it's not just what I say or what Dr. Ariola says or any of us say. It really is what ultimately the mayor's responsibility.
I guess for this, I'm wondering if there's a way we could collaborate more and fix the problem versus moving forward with creating separate. Like, could we just have more conversation before this even moves forward?
I asked Councilmember Weiner that. I invited her because, like I said, our emails are out there, right? It didn't come to us. And I know we're very responsive, but now she knows. And so that's why all of us received that email 2 days ago. So hopefully moving forward, but I don't think that's going to stop this right now. Okay. Can I get a second on my motion?
Can you clarify your motion? Yeah, so it's a motion that we're going to make a response?
Motion to submit alternate language for the duties of the proposed commission that reflect the autonomy of the Board of Health and the Director of Health. I'm trying to simplify it.
So does that mean that you're in agreement with doing the commission? Or
It
if
means
there is
that
a commission?
it means that this is going to go. I think that council has enough votes for this to push forward. What we need to really do, since we have had a chance to study it, is offer language that will offer as much clarity and efficiency as possible for the support of MAC. I'm just being practical. You can, do you want to add something else? You can amend it. We can get a second and go through and amend it.
So we're voting that we will change the language, but we haven't changed the language yet. But I can agree to that. Yeah.
Yes, Eric.
Respectfully, I would think you need to voice your motion, get a second, and then have the discussion.
Yeah.
And if it calls for an amendment, you all have the ability to move to amend. Then just get a second on the amendment, discuss, and then call the vote. It's getting,
So, again,
I'm having a little
yeah.
difficult time following which is the motion and where we're at.
Again, is there a second on the motion?
Can you just one more time, just
Okay.
voice the motion?
Well,
Did you write down the motion?
I wrote the first one you said.
Alternate language for the proposed, and then you started rambling, and I just.
So, is,
Asterisk, and I said, check this on recording.
That's real. That's real.
as what you said, can we prepare a response to the duties outlined in a way that is amenable to the Board of Health? And then you use the word autonomy, that maintains the autonomy of the Board of Health and the Director.
And the
of
Director.
That
Yes.
was her first thing.
Yeah,
It was a mix. He mixed both of them together.
yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I was fearing, by the way.
Okay. I can second that.
Discussion. Additional discussion. Heather, you look like you want to say something.
Yes. I'm just kind of stewing on whether there's any purpose in being on record, individually or as a group, whether we're in support of the general idea, whether it's practical, or not, or has any bearing on what happens moving forward. Because I am in support of modifying the language and very supportive of making sure MAC has all the resources it needs to be successful, but not in support of this particular commission at this time. So I just want to make sure that we do everything we can to be on record with kind of where we stand with this, regardless of where that takes it.
Yes, so that can happen two ways. In our formal response back to Councilmember Weiner, we can state our concerns and, dare I say, opposition to the establishment of the commission. However, to support inclusivity, we can still have our recommended language. And then once it gets to council for second reading, we can still show up and make comments, which is what I intend to do again.
By the way, it's on the agenda for November 18th, next week.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. And Kabir is going to help keep track of everything, so we'll get a communication out. Any additional discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Thank you for the discussion. and Dr. Ariola will work with you and your team accordingly. Okay, let's get on with the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Finke. You may be excused. All right, Dr. Ariola, State of Public Health.
So really just a couple of things, is obviously the Senate and the House voted to reopen the government, so that's the big news. I do want to, I know Dr. McDonald is not here, and I might call Deanna and is Laura here? Okay. So more recently, I think I shared that with you. I do want to just kind of talk very briefly about the impact of the new interpretation of the public benefit law on our services. And we've had conversations with, a few weeks ago, we did get an email from the state and about the need to verify residency or citizenship for people that participate in our programs, and that include a CHANT, which is the Community Health Access and Navigation in Tennessee, and Children's Special Services, CSS Kids, as well as a few other programs, including breast and cervical cancer screening program. And, but also, in addition, to go back and redetermine current enrollees in those programs. And I know across the state, it's also impacting participants in primary care services in the state. And yeah, I don't know that it's been in the news at all, but it's created a lot of headaches for us. I think the last time I checked, because of these issues, we had over 100 participants waiting for us, and I think we have some, without necessarily naming organizations, but we have health systems here that are no longer taking referrals for CSS kids, and that's a huge, huge thing. You know, we don't really ask those questions, haven't, so we can't really determine what percentage of our clients will be impacted, but without a doubt, that would adversely impact us. So, but I do want Deanna, if you don't mind, just to talk about the CSS kits especially, but also CHANT, and what kind of services we provide to who, and what the potential impacts could be.
Thank you. So specifically for our children with special health care needs, these are going to be small babies, children up to the age of 21 that have a qualifying medical diagnosis, and it's one of over 500 diagnoses that would qualify them for special services. They also experience a financial hardship that they otherwise could not access services, anything from life-limiting disabilities like having scoliosis, a severe scoliosis diagnosis, to truly life-threatening oncology diagnosis or something that's cardiac related. So we care for about 600 families in Davidson County that have children that have a devastating family diagnosis. Specifically, we are providing nutritional supplements for those families whose children have G-tubes specifically. We act as a clearinghouse or a portal for treatment plans and also surgeries and other kinds of medical services with a network of providers that are approved to support CSS families. Since we have been in a holding pattern, as Dr. Ariola has said, we have had about 130 families that are waiting to still receive services. We have started this week working on triaging them to try to get caught up, and the team is doing a fantastic job as fast as they can to get those families moving through to get them connected with services. On the CHANT side or the care coordination side, this is really about helping families navigate existing resources. It's pointing them in the direction of where we have a resource that is available in Davidson County to meet their need.
Thank you. And you'll be able to ask questions, but I do want Dr. Vernier to also come and talk about the impact on breast and cervical screening, as well as the preventive clinics. I met with the team a few weeks ago, and the anxiety was palpable.
Good evening, everyone. So we work as a liaison site for 11 different enrollment opportunities for women to be seen for cervical screening and breast screening here in Davidson County. I want to say as of last year, we helped almost 10,000 women be able to obtain these services. And then even our clinics offer colposcopy. So if you have a positive pap smear HPV test, we're able to do that here in clinic. This is for uninsured women and underinsured women in Davidson County. So we know that we want to catch these screenings early, and therefore we're not having people show up to emergency departments at later stages, which is going to be more costly and definitely much more impactful on the people that would be able to get services if they were able to be screened and taken care of in a more timely and efficient manner. So we are still waiting. We had a wonderful conversation with our Metro Legal department. I think we've talked to almost all of you at this point, so waiting to get some further clarification, but really want to be able to continue to serve the women that we serve. So, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We did have clarification from Metro Legal about how to handle incoming customers, and we're waiting for clarifications on how to do the redetermination and a few other things. But Metro Legal has been very helpful. I do just want to let you know these aren't theoretical issues. These are impactful things. They're going to result in sick people. They're going to result in deaths. That's just the reality, because it's going to, I mean, we do have at least one health system here that refusing to take referrals for CSS kits already. So I just wanted to make sure that we share. And we're going to prepare a few things for you all, just so you're aware of where things are. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, the last thing for me was a few weeks ago, I signed on, as did several other director of health, on a public statement on the importance of getting vaccinated. So, thank you.
Are any questions? No? Yes? No? Okay. All right, next, Mr. Diamond, grant applications, and then grants and contracts.
Yes, Chair Franklin and members of the board, we did not have any applications this month, so we can move to grants and contracts. There were 10 on your initial packet. We're going to pull one on the recommendation of Metro Legal. Items number 1, 2, and 3 are all Ryan White subgrants that were approved at last month's meeting. We just have minor term changes to all 3. First one is to Nashville Cares. Second one is to We Are One Recovery, and the third is to Vanderbilt Medical Center. Item number 4 is a Community Safety Initiative grant for Gideon's Army for $375,000. 275. Okay. Well, it was, excuse me, 275. It was 375 in the advance packet. So we'll get that.
So it should be 275?
It's 275 or 375. We will. It's 370. Okay. We can pull it after the fact. Okay. We're going to pull this one as well. She said.
That's what they gave us. 375?
Yeah, 375 is the right amount.
So is this number accurate or not? Yes or no?
370.
Permission to speak? There are two things. The actual budget that we have from them is for 375. That's the actual document. However, they're missing documentation to move forward.
Okay, so it's not, okay, all right, thank you. So, so this isn't ready, this particular?
It's not ready. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna scratch it for this time, okay.
Okay. Item number 5 is a Community Safety Initiative grant for Pass the Beauty, $48,000. Item number 6, an amendment to the Lipscomb University affiliate agreement, just changes the TB test requirements. Item number 7 is a grant to the Friends of MAC to emergency medical safety net, foster, as well as microchip and rabies clinic. Items number 8 and 9 are agreements with our mobile WIC locations. The first one is with MDHA, and the second one is with National Public Libraries. And item number 10 is the other one that we are withdrawing based on communications with Metro Legal. That is correct.
All right. When ready, I'll entertain a motion on items 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
No, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2. I'm sorry?
1, 2, 3, and then
Yeah.
we're pulling 4.
Yeah, that's what I said. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those items. I'll entertain a motion.
So made.
Okay. You're so moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, discussion.
I'll just say on the Gideon's Army one also, I was a little disturbed that they didn't put any names in.
Well,
Yeah.
right
If
now,
they're-
we're not considering Gideon.
I know, but I'm
Yeah.
just feedback for when it comes back.
Well, okay. Yeah. But you didn't make you made a second?
I did.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of the grants and contracts? All right, none opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Now, could you restate your feedback for number 4?
Oh. Yeah, it's just, they have a bunch of to-be-named people, which does not sit well. I don't think that, it doesn't look good. So,
So you're asking for a bit more detail in the
I think they
application?
should put their names on who's going to be doing the work.
I concur, Dr. Griffin. That's one of the reasons we're not moving forward. There are some things that are missing that we need some clarification on before it's moved forward. I communicated with Ms. Fertiga today
Okay,
about that.
okay. So,
I didn't know it was on the agenda for today.
got it. So you're communicating?
Absolutely.
So hopefully they'll be able to turn it around soon? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we need to hear. So thank you for being on top of it, Dr. Green. Okay, what's next on the agenda? I think it's report of the director.
Thank you, Chair Franklin, members of the Board of Health. I'm mindful of the time, so I'll just kind of point to a few things on the report. Measles, you have been informed that we have our first case last week, and I'm going to ask Rachel has a couple of slides here that I would have go over, just so we provide an update to you, but I'll just say that when I got back into the country, the first text that I got was from Commissioner of Health, Dr. John Dunn, who was very, very complimentary of our staff and the response. And I joined the call yesterday, really, really appreciative and impressed with the collaboration between our team and the team at the Tennessee Department of Health. So Rachel will give you a few numbers, and hopefully you're as impressed as I am as to how wide we cast the net so we can protect our residents and how much work and efforts going into that. Rachel.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. I'm going to make this as quick as possible, be mindful of time, but please do ask questions. For perspective here, I've been here almost 18 years and we have not had a positive measles case. We've had a lot of training, a lot of toolkit reviews, but this is the first time that we have put those things we've learned into action. So before I get into the numbers, I just wanted to give a quick review of what a measles investigation looks like. So the Tennessee Department of Health, who Dr. Sammy said correctly, are great partners to us. They always notify us when a specimen has been approved for testing. There's an algorithm. Only the state public lab can test for measles, so they don't accept everybody. This particular case, scored a 6 out of 6 on the algorithm for testing, which is the highest we'd ever had. So we definitely got the heads up, and we started notifying internally too. Whenever we have a specimen that goes to the lab, regardless of how high they scored on that algorithm, we start finding out more about the case, basic information. Are they vaccinated? Have they traveled? You know, what's going on? And within 1 to 2 days, we'll get the results from the lab. It was less than 24 hours this time, which was great, but everyone was really involved in making sure the sample was received and can we get right on it? So a big collaboration there. After the measles was confirmed, an extensive interview with the case, who was hospitalized at this point, to determine what their infectious period was and what were his or her movements within that infectious period. With measles, it's very different than even COVID in that just passing by or going into a space within a couple of hours after someone who is infectious has left that space considers you as exposed. So after we figured out where this person had been during their infectious period, we started moving into contacting those people who have been named. That's a big task of gathering phone numbers from different establishments. We'll get to the numbers in a minute. I wanted to pass around, these are the instructions that we give to contacts. I didn't want to get into that, but you'll see there's instructions for if you've been vaccinated versus if you haven't. Also, if you're named a measles contact, we ask that you provide us proof of your vaccination, and then we consider that completed. If not, that contact is not complete, and they will receive a daily follow-up text via a system through TDH every day for 21 days that asks them to report any symptoms. Initial quick identification of symptoms in those that have been exposed is a real priority for us. Slide. Do I do it? So here's some numbers, and these are updated. These are old, and I've got new numbers. So total cases is 1. Total contacts recorded, and we do use the REDCap system for our contacts, is 648. And I'd like to make a note on this. That 648 is how many phone numbers and emails people were listed, but a lot of these people have families and or friends that they were with when they were in the places that were named. So that 648 is actually a much lower number. And when we contact these people, we ask them about who may have been around them. We get those people's names, and they go on a different line list. They're not counted in REDCap, but we are keeping up with them. The new number for contacts with complete interviews is 153. Total contacts out of state. The nature of this case had a lot of folks that were just here visiting. So out of state is a big part of it, and the TDH works very well with us. So out of state is now 59. Currently being monitored with that daily test is 49. And then total contacts pending outreach is now 359. And we'll talk more about that on the next slide, please. So just some quick facts. When we did realize we had such a huge number of contacts, we pulled together a meeting first thing Monday morning for just-in-time training of about 20 contact tracers from across the health department. This is not work that they do every day, but it's just a great time to collaborate and break down those silos. Folks from Epi Division, Clinical Services, in CDEP, there's Emergency Preparedness and Notifiable Disease, and of course the Vaccine Preventable Disease Program, which is leading this outbreak. Ryan White and TB is also helping us. I wanted to note that today we finally got contact information, which are email or phone numbers, for over 200 contacts that we have been missing that contact information on, and we kind of had to go a couple of steps further to get that, but we got that this afternoon. And because there are still so many folks who haven't been initially contacted, we decided this afternoon, and it's been sent out already and the phones have been ringing off the hook from what I understand, We sent out a mass text to all of those that we had phone numbers for, letting them know that they may have been exposed, they will be contacted, and please monitor any symptoms. That final part of monitoring any symptoms, again, is the most important because a lot of these contacts are entering the time where they will start to show symptoms. And then when they get the text, they're given an email address that they can email that goes to a lot of us with any questions, with any symptoms, and we'll get right back to them. If they don't email or follow up, we'll still call them when we get to them on the list. I think the next slide is it. So I want to be cognizant of not giving too much about the case, of course. I will say this has been, if you're going to run into, not challenges, but run into little side quests, I guess you could call them in today's world, in a measles response, we've hit them all. And we've got a great team and a lot of motivation to see this through to the end. And it's not going to be over until that 21-day window closes and we have no one who is symptomatic. Yes, Dr. Griffin?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, my understanding was that triage was not perfect with this case, and that initially, and that maybe the alert level of the healthcare providers is not as high as it was several months ago.
Well, the initial, there was a facility who we're working with infection control to make sure that certain things don't happen again.
Right. I'm just wondering if since these people may show up anywhere.
Well, a Tennessee Health Alert Network
it went out.
Was put out to all providers, and usually that does happen whenever there's a local case. We definitely want to have it at the front of healthcare providers' minds and the folks who have been exposed minds.
So how many people are working from the department are working on this case, particularly contact tracing? I know you pulled everyone in to sort of think, but how many individuals?
We have at least 20 that have made phone calls.
That have made phone calls.
Mm-hmm. And they're still having to do their daily job, so they may do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Some people can do 6 or 7 in a day, but everyone's working their list when they can.
So this is just one, and so in the event that there were more, what does that look like with capacity?
Right. I mean, the one thing about, as you can tell, measles response is very resource intensive. This is one case, lots of contact. So if this gets to an issue, we're going to have to pull people from other programs, but we've done that before. We did that with COVID, so we'll make the needed adjustment and put the right resources in there. But big thing about responding to measles is very, very resource intensive.
And I will add this too: if we were unsuccessful in getting contact information, we would look to public message and say, if you have been to this place during this time, you may have been exposed and you can call, here's the health department number. Whenever we think we can't reach anyone directly, we have not had to go that route, but it's on the table, and other regions have had to do that for sure.
First, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Assuming that most or all people on the team have no experience in this type of work with measles specifically, that
right.
It's remarkable to be able to use that training to put it to use practically.
Thank you.
But if you could educate me, going back to that specimen information on the first slide, where does that originate? Just kind of tell me how that happens.
Our patients sought treatment, sought health care. And a doctor finally said, you know what, let's, after they'd been around a few places, right? Sent home, brought back through the front door, the provider decided to test, and they knew to call the state and ask if, hey, can we get this person tested? The state went down their algorithm. Like I said, it was 6 out of 6. With the different risk factors, and This was all on Wednesday, last Wednesday, and then by Thursday at 4, we had our confirmed case. And then it was Friday, and then it was Veterans Day, but we've had staff working over the weekend. We had, through ELC funds, we have the ability to pay folks to work on this nonstop as much as they want. It's been tiring.
And like Heather said, thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Just a few other mentions. We have the Men's Health Symposium happening this Saturday, November 15th. And I think the last I checked, we have over 200 people registered, and I will make an appearance there. The first one, we had over 100 men attend. We have early voting going on in the department. I've mentioned about the MAC building, but we're also making progress about the Woodbine building. We have a property that General Services is looking at. And once it gets to a point where we can provide more information, we'll do that. And finally, I do want to say that after interviewing last couple of weeks, Dr. Abraham Mukolo has been selected as the new Bureau Director for the Bureau of Epidemiology, Strategy Planning, Policy, and Evaluation.
Congratulations.
And as you will see in the next thing, our HR Director, Mr. Aaron, left at the end of the month, and I've asked Abigail Holloway to act as the interim Human Resource Director. Yeah. Thank you. That's all I got.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll keep it moving. Report of the chair. I'm not going to go through this verbatim, but you have this in your packet, and then there are links, so I'll ask Rhonda to send out this electronically. But I had in addition to dealing with MAC, I also had a chance to attend the NALBO meeting, annual meeting. NALBO stands for the National Association of Local Boards of Health. And take-home messages are really about how we talk about public health and our capacity as Board of Health members. There's just really concrete information, particularly for those that are newer to the Board of Health, but I think it's really helpful reminders for us that have been on the board for a while, and maybe even some ideas on sort of how to be more efficient, particularly when we're scheduling things, because it's really hard to schedule things with this board. And then just sort of thinking about our role. For so many years, because we've had a lot of turnover at the director's level, we've had to sort of be hands-on or pay attention to the fires that need to be put out. But we should be looking, particularly because our voices are neutral, on how we use those voices for advocacy. And so Dr. Ariola and I had a conversation about this and agreed that there are some things that this board can do that maybe the health department cannot do. And so we're going to work together to make sure that we leverage expertise and also our independent role in advocacy. And so that's more or less what this one-pager or 1.5-pager summarizes, but there are links, and then all of the handouts, there's a link to all of the handouts as well at that meeting that are available to everyone on the board. All of us are members of NALBO because you made sure, right, Talia, that we're members. And so I would encourage you to at least seek out information and just sift through information as you're able to. Any questions? Okay, you want to get out of here, so let's keep moving. Yes.
There's a couple of documents in your packet. One is just an update on the performance metrics. You can read through if you have questions. And then the thing that you have asked for, to be giving you summaries on some of the project. I know we have feedback from Rebecca, but again, these are just for 3 of the grants. And if you, maybe the feedback is from Dr. Yeah, I think you had the feedback. But if you have any other feedback, let us know. We try to not make it several pages, like we get just to distill that down. But if there are additional information you need, please let us know. Thank you.
Does that work for you generally?
Yeah, Gerald, she has suggested we'll incorporate those, but yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. Next item is election of chair and vice chair. Derek, how are we going to handle this? Every year we do this. We come to you and ask you for guidance on how to structure it with such an intimate board.
When everybody's here? Do we have to do it at this meeting?
Well, we can, but the thing about it is we're not going to have a meeting. December's meeting, we don't have everyone that's confirmed for December's meeting. Correct?
Dr. McDonald will not be here in December. I think Ms. Whiteside and I'm not her. I think
Yeah.
I'll be here in December.
We can push it back, but it'll probably be pushed back to January, maybe if we have everyone here. But we're a body, we can take care of business. So, but what's the desire of the board?
I'm not familiar with process. Is this looking forward to July 1st or
No,
what
this
is
would be, we're
January?
voting for the current chair and vice chair. So we have the vote this meeting, and then the next meeting they would start in those roles. And we do it annually. And we don't require everyone being here, but we try to make it so everyone, I mean, this is a time where we've had trouble getting all the board members here. It's just hard, and they're going back and forth trying to query. It's just hard to get everyone at the same meeting. Derek?
Well, I kind of hear two questions, so I'll answer yours first about the process. Since there hasn't been like a nominating committee, would be to open the floor for nominations. I think you have to have a chair and a vice chair. So those should be taken up separately. Open the floor for motion, not motions, by the way. Nominations don't need a second. So you make a nomination, you can even nominate yourself for chair. She should be able to then call, are there any other nominations? So after the nominations are completed, there then has to be a roll call vote so that nobody votes twice for whichever nominee they choose to cast their vote for. If Chair Franklin is nominated, she should, at the time of calling for the vote, surrender that duty to the current vice chair. See, we've got a potential here for ongoing conflicts, so I may have to jump in, but if it flows and it's not able to be passed off to Dr. Griffin because they're both up for nominations for chair, one of you other members could be passed the gavel for handling the vote for that office. I do recommend you go ahead and take care of the chair office first and then open the process again for filling the vice chair position. As to the questions about, well, we're not all here, et cetera, you can continue to function whether elected this time or not. The chair and the vice chair in their offices continue under the Metro's provisions in the code and so forth. They continue to fill their office until a successor is appointed. So it can be handled, but we don't necessarily have to have, all you have to have is a quorum. And then you're permitted to go through the election process. So that's, and I don't have a recommendation one way or the other on whether there's more or less people here, just as long as you have a quorum.
I can see the value of it, especially with both of you all. I don't know that I would be comfortable leading on it right now, but so I'm okay with waiting. I'm also okay if you want to go today.
I'm comfortable with waiting, but if the desire is to make sure we have everyone here, I think we'll be waiting for a while. So maybe we can be in agreement that we'll put this on the agenda for next December, next month.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we can make sure that everyone knows that there's going to be a vote and encourage, well, Morgan still won't be here.
Can we vote? You know that meeting that we're having in December?
No, we can't.
Oh, there, okay.
That's fine.
So December? Okay. All right. All right, so we will table this agenda item to the December meeting. And this agenda item we're talking about is the election of chair and vice chair. Yes.
Since it's on the agenda, I do recommend a motion to defer to the December regular.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to defer the vote till December.
Did I use the word defer? Yeah, defer is the correct word. Don't table it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Once you table something, it dies. Defer it.
All in favor? All right, motion carries. All right, next we have new business. We have the board requests of the department and the departmental requests of the board in front of you on your packet. Are there, for sake of time, I'm just going to let everyone review that. If you have concerns, please reach out to the department regarding those concerns. But is there specific, are there specific board requests of the department that we would like to lift up for today? Yes.
I just want to say thanks to all of you, and my request is that you get sleep and take care of yourselves, because these are really difficult times. And with everything going on, I really appreciate all the work that all of you do every day that people don't even, are not even aware. People don't realize all the contact tracing happening and all these things to keep us safe. So I just want to say thank you, and don't forget your own health.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Any departmental requests of the board? No, not yet. Not now. Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
All in favor? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. I hereby open the Civil Service Board.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.